Did he or didn't he? That's the burning question on Americans' minds over the scandal that has the potential to burn down the Hollywood flame that's already getting too hot for comfort for a number of celebs who went on a social media scrubbing spree. It all ignited when Diddy was denied bail despite his request for $50 million bond and in his incarceration at his Florida home while he awaits trial. Instead, he's locked up in a Brooklyn penitentiary where he reportedly was put on suicide watch. And where have we heard that before? So will Diddy wind up being Epstein? No one knows for sure. But despite the racketeering and sex trafficking charges, we don't know Diddy's alleged co-conspirators. But there are Hollywood heavyweights who are apparently spooked. Usher's post vanished off X, only for him to make the excuse later that he was hacked. And many of pop stars Pink's posts were 86th, only leaving a handful of posts left behind, including a retweet of Keith Olbermann saying that Trump should be removed. One of the creepiest moments in the saga came when Usher was on Howard Stern's XM radio show. It all started when he was spilling names.
Moved to New York City, and I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
That's the crazy thing. Now, that was L.A. Reid's idea, right? We're sending you over to something called Puffy Flavor Camp.
There you go.
To learn
Flavor Camp.
Yeah,
Flavor
that's
Camp.
what it was called. And you're going to go to Puff Daddy's. He's going
In the 90s, do you understand what that's like?
Puffy's place was like just filled with chicks and orgying like nonstop, right?
No, not really. I
Come
mean,
on.
but hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you
I
seeing?
went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was, but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild. It was,
So nobody
it was crazy.
tried to, some woman didn't come along.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I didn't
But
say
you
that. What I did say is that there were very curious things taking place. And I didn't necessarily understand it.
Biggie Smalls was there.
Biggie Smalls was there. Lil' Kim, Craig Mack.
All these people are hanging around.
Yeah, man. Faith Evans,
And your
Jodeci,
parents were
Mary
okay?
J. Blige.
They apparently were. Joining us now to make sense of it all and what this means for Hollywood moving forward is BlazeTV host and contributor Jason Whitlock. So Jason, let's just start out. You've been proven right all along. So put this into some perspective for us so we can make sense of it.
Well, what was it, 6, 8, 10 months ago, when the Diddy thing first got on the news, when they first raided his house, we did two-hour specials trying to get everyone up to speed on Diddy and the music industry and what all this represented. And it's been my argument for many years, and it's all come to fruition, that music industry is satanic. It's a sex cult, and as it relates to hip hop, its role is to instill, impart, make the culture more nihilistic. And Diddy is at the head of that, and so I'm not surprised by any of this. I was a little bit surprised it took this long to incarcerate or bring charges against Diddy. But now that they're here, I think a lot of people should be nervous. A lot of Hollywood people, a lot of athletes, a lot of the A-list celebrities. I mean, you were reading off those names, or Usher was saying the names of people that, were coming to Diddy's parties. And I was like, oh my God, Usher is one of my favorite artists. Mary J. Blige, one of my favorite artists. I mean, it's a who's who. And so it's a, R. Kelly, who is already in jail for his sexual misconduct and, assault of young women and all of that, looks like he's going to have a lot of company, and people are going to have to deal with the fact that this music and this lifestyle is intentionally corrosive to the culture. And we need to take stock of that and ask ourselves, how did we get here? That hip-hop, such a profane, it's basically lyrical pornography, would have this much influence over American culture.
Jason, I 100% agree with everything you've been saying about this and find it very interesting that you were way out in front of everyone else on this particular issue. I remember, when you were saying those things, and you were there was no one else there. You were way out in front of it. So I think that's amazing, and I agree with what you're saying about the music. But let me push this a little bit because this is how cynical I am, and I know maybe you are too. There are lots of parties in big cities where a lot of crazy stuff goes on. That's not new. What is new is when people get in trouble. That's like a red flag. What's going on here? So let me just give you my own cynical view, and maybe it's overthinking, maybe not. I don't know. What do you think? But I kind of think when this happens, like when it happened to Weinstein, and when it happens, Epstein is a little more complicated. When it happened to Harvey Weinstein, it's because they're losing power in some way. In other words, there's 3 other people who are just as powerful having the same parties right now across town. But there's wars going on that we don't know about, and someone loses their power base or they start to slip money-wise, and then they're kind of thrown to the wolves. That's my cynical view of this. But in other words, like, okay, well, why now? Why is he getting in trouble? Is there something else going on here?
Well, Diddy started suing people and started challenging the establishment that put him in place. There was some kind of, maybe it's called Diageo, some sort of liquor company, that major one that he tried to sue. He made some demands during Black Lives Matter, when the St. George Floyd, the 2020, the year of St. George Floyd. He started making demands from advertisers and how they needed to support Revolt TV. And Diddy is going through what Kanye West went through in terms of, these guys naively thought that the music industry would install them at the top of the food chart, make them billionaires. And they thought, hey, I'm a billionaire. I'm the equal of these other people that installed me. And the people that installed Diddy are saying, no, you're not. You have a role and a place to stay in. You've gone outside of that, and we will put you down like a sick dog. And so that's my cynical take on, Diddy started trying to challenge the establishment and tried to act like he was a real power player when clearly installed. And that's what really frustrates me about, particularly as it hip hop, because it's not a talent driven musical form. It's and all of these forms, from Hollywood movies to all these entertainment deals, the executives and the people at the top install who they want, regardless of talent, regardless of what the content is. And so what we're learning, Matt, over the last decade, and has really come into focus in the last 5 years, and in the last year since Cat Williams did that explosive interview with Shannon Sharp, is that the people that get installed in all these positions, whether it be comedy, on TV, unless they have puppet strings on you, you don't get those positions in mainstream corporate media with those big major contracts. And so Diddy was a tool, bait people to come to his house and participate in things that they would put on camera. And now you have blackmail information on politicians, other celebrities, influencers. You wonder why all the Hollywood influencer, celebrity people all think the exact same thing. Kamala Harris is the greatest person in the world, and she should be president of the United States. And Donald Trump is racist. You can't convince me that everybody in Hollywood thinks that. They think that because they have no other choice but to think that. They're puppet masters. That's a requirement. That their job is to influence their followers, their fans, into following along with what the regime wants, what the radical left wants. And again, sexual misconduct is nothing but a tool to control people. And so, many of us in American culture, we bought into sexual liberation, and we're so free. We're so free. We get to have sex with anybody and do anything. And you're really not free. You're actually putting handcuffs on yourself, because all of that immoral behavior that you're participating in eventually will be used against you.
Jason, in the 30 seconds that we have left, you've been all over this story. So what's the next phase? Where do we go from here?
Well, the cover up is always worse than the crime, and that's where I thought Matt was going to go in terms of like, well, they'll be very selective about who actually gets in trouble for this. Part of the process why it took so long is because they were deciding which tapes they were going to delete, which tapes they were going to put in a little drawer and save for later, and which people will be the scapegoats and the symbols of, hey, we really went after some people. And so I think the cover up is what's next. Who actually gets in trouble and who doesn't get in trouble?